Hey Pokemon nerds, my name is Gray. Hope you're having a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Welcome to my little presentation. I thought I'd introduce you real quick to my sisters. From left to right, Paisley, Bridget, Laura, Lauren, Natalie, Mackenzie, Kayla, Sarah Lynn, Jackson, and Leah. Yes, Bridget has my Switch too. I don't know why that specifically poked out, but yes. She loves stealing it. I've been a big fan of Pokemon ever since I was little. I used to have a chunky Pikachu plush, which I will insert like right here. And I used to be a big fan of Pokemon Indigo, and I think I watched all the way up until maybe like Black and White series, and then I kind of stopped watching then. And I even have the Pokemon 2000 movie on VHS. Shout out to people that still remember VHS players. Yep. How I originally got into it was my uncle bought me a copy of Pokemon Leaf Green, which I still own today. I actually have it right here in this little case. Yes. And I play it on this little DS right here, DS Lite. I started playing D&D in 2024 with an online group, and so I was introduced by some friends in college originally, but it was Dimension 20's Dungeons and Drag Queens that really got me hooked. So shout out to Brennan and Monet Exchange, Bob the Drag Queen, Alaska, I won't say your last name, it's a little inappropriate for stream, and Jujubee. So enough about me. I am wearing my pink jacket as an homage to Ilima, who is a character from the Sun and Moon series, and well, I just thought I'd wear it just because we'll be discussing evolutions. Thought it'd be fun to go through each evolution and kind of discuss like which D&D class they'd be. I also have this little Pikachu shirt. Shout out Pika Rar. If you don't know Pika Rar, she makes like all these cute like Shiba Inu drawings and like prints and stuff like that, but she also does like Pokemon. Shout out here. First, I wanna preface all this with, this is just my opinion and my opinion only, okay? It's a fun thought experiment, so only restriction that I'm putting on myself is that they're not gonna be like any duplicate classes, so I can't sign the same class to multiple EVs. We'll get to it when we get to it. Fun fact, before we get into the classes, my favorite, little fun fact about evolutions is, well, let me preface this again. I am not a math person, but something interesting about all evolutions is that they share the same stat total, and also that stat total is made up of the same stat numbers. All that changes is like how it's spread in different stats. That's what fancy maths people call permutations. Now, I'm not a fancy math person, so I'm not gonna call it that. From that information, we can actually calculate the amount of possible evolutions in existence, and that's what they call factorials. And no, I'm not a math person, so I'll just tell you the total is straight up just 360. That's the amount of evolutions that we can have, but we only have 8 right now. I mean, we could always use more, clearly. So starting from the top, we have Eevee, and I have these little stickers. I bought these off Etsy. I'll put like the store on here if I can find them again, but they make really cute tarot inspired Pokemon stickers. So initially I was thinking something like Fighter, which is like the most simple class out of all of them, and it makes sense since like Eevee is like a normal type, so you just think of like, oh, your typical just like melee class that doesn't really like have like magic, like they're non-magical, which kind of makes sense for Eevee because like she doesn't get any special elemental moves outside of like disarming voice on level up. But I think to make it a cooler flavor, I would make Eevee a monk, and then you can subclass her into Way of 4 Elements, and that would kind of give like an homage to like all the different elemental evolutions that she can turn into. Well, yes. Now for Vaporeon, now I wanted to give them clerics since, clerics are mostly known for like healing and like cool energy. They're also kind of like defenders because like they're mostly like a shield and like a mace. And so like Vaporeon's stat wise is also very bulky and also gets supporting moves like Aqua Ring and Acid Armor, while it also gets like spells like Surf and Scald. But there's no actual sea or water related domain for cleric. There's a lot of like homebrews out there that does give them But for now, that would mean we would have to give her Tempest. But I think that didn't really fit just because Tempest mostly focuses on like thunder and lightning damage instead of cold. So instead, let's avert that and let's give her Circle of the Sea Druid. And while it's not like comparatively as powerful as Cleric, I think it fits more thematically. Because they get spells like create water, and one of like the signature abilities is that they can surround themselves with like an ocean spray, and like that has like special abilities as well. And I think to make it fit even more thematically, I think if I took it into like a real D&D game, just give them a proficiency in martial weapons, and that way they can wield a trident. It'd give Aura Farm that shit, like Aquaman. Jolteon. Speaking of Tempest Domain Cleric, that's what I gave Jolteon instead, since quite literally Jolteon in the lore can generate so much electricity it causes thunderstorms. Now you could probably also argue Wizard with a school of evocation and spam stuff like Lightning Bolt and Storm Sphere, but I don't really envision Jolteon as like someone that's like a backline caster. When I think of Jolteon, I think of like speed, like getting in people's face, like very like dexterous. So I felt like Cleric kind of made sense in that case, where you still get access to like elemental abilities, but you also can kind of get into people's faces. Flareon. Barbarian. Right. I think that one's self-explanatory, but the rage mechanic, as well as like, you know, just getting up close in their face, personally that just fits with like its attacks because it normally gets like Flare Blitz and Flame Wheel, which are contact moves. And so if the elemental magic part doesn't really vibe with you, then we can just say subclass into wild magic. Or who's that one chick from Baldur's Gate 3? Right. Espeon. Now, Espeon only makes sense as a magical class. Now, whether you want to debate wizard or sorcerer, I don't really care. It's Divination Wizard. That's it. It literally states like in the lore that they can predict opponents' actions and like even like the weather. Now, the Divination Wizard gets portent and can change the outcome of D20 rolls, almost like they saw the future. And well, I mean, let me ask the audience. Umbreon. No, intuitively, she's a rogue. And I think it just makes sense because like Umbreon is known for like ambushing targets and like they're enhanced by the nighttime and like shadows and just that vibe. But F that. So I instead decided to choose Gloomstalker Ranger because they literally get Dread Ambusher, Umbral Sight, and Shadowy Dodge. And I think that makes sense. Now, I know when like people hear Ranger and they think that's like a ranged character. And Umbreon doesn't really give range vibes since like it has like a lot of contact moves like Foul Play, Knock Off, Crunch. But Ranger is a dexterity class, and that means they can absolutely be melee if you just give them a finesse weapon. And if you really wanted to do the whole range thing, I mean, Umbreon still gets Snarl and Dark Pulse, so like if you really wanted to flavor it that way, you could. But like in a real D&D game, you would also be able to multi-class into like Rogue or Fighter, so like there's other ways to circumvent that. Leafeon, okay? Now this was my favorite to think about, and not just because I love grass types, which I also have this. This is like one of my favorite cards, the Grass Gym Leader from Sword and Shield. It has such an iconic move in Leaf Blade, and so most people would think, oh, like Druid, because I mean, well, but like I wanted to give it a little bit more flavor, and since we already have Vaporeon as a Druid, like let's pick something else, right? I wanted to make Leafeon our Rogue. Specifically subclass it as a Swashbuckler. You see the vision? I think another option here that works is Hexblade Warlock if you want to have like more magic options. Granted, like they don't have as many like spell slots as like Sorcerer or Druid even. You can still keep the flavor of Leaf Blade, like that would just be your pack weapon. And that'd be like super cool. But I still think that like a pirate inspired Leafeon would be really, really cool. Now, Glaceon. Glaceon I had a harder time since Wizard was already taken, and it's kind of known for like the iconic evocation spells like Ice Storm, Cone of Cold, Freezing Spheres, and I think that just like really fits Glaceon thematically. But I think a good alternative in this case would just be a Draconic Bloodline Sorcerer, and you could just pick Silver or White Ancestry, and that way you get access to like the Ice Dragon Breath, and Sorcerer still gets access to Ray of Frost and Ice Knife and other ice spells like Ice Storm and stuff like that. Now, the other thing I was thinking of, but this is something more homebrew, also could be like a Ranger, because Ranger, one of their specialties is like they're based in like a certain environment. Like they're good at tracking like in a certain environment, and like they have like different buffs depending on which environment that they live in. And I would say just like Tundra or something like that, but that's also something like you would kind of have to talk to your GM about. Last but not least, our homegirl. She is the trans flag, right? Like LGBT, and she is the T. I'm sure this one isn't a shocker, but literally her most iconic move is Hyper Voice. So yeah, it's Bard. She sings, she buffs allies, she deals damage, like hello. Hello. That is all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for sitting through this video. Maybe we can have a nice little discussion of what classes you guys think the Eeveelutions are. Maybe you're not a big Pokemon fan or a D&D fan either, so appreciate you for sticking to the end. Other than that, I hope y'all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!